Okay, so I'll be honest, this is my second time recording this video. So, and I rambled a lot in the last one, so I'm just gonna go. So I've been learning Japanese for about 2.5 years at this point, 2.5 years. I'll give a small introduction since I've done this in my last two videos. Or how many videos? Last three videos. So I came across a R Learn Japanese post on January 8th, 2018 of Sean Crowder. He had a YouTube channel called Japanese in a Year, and at the 12-month mark, he made a post on I Learn Japanese, just showing his progress. There was a comment on there. Keep in mind that 600 hours in a year is less than 2 hours a day. I thought to myself, I have a ton of free time. I can learn a language too. And for a while, I was learning German, like through high school. I didn't learn anything. So yeah, I started to start learning Japanese. I made a spreadsheet that same day, which I stopped caring about eventually. And I knew about AJATT at this time, so this isn't entirely true. I did know about AJATT starting out because I was like, well, if I'm gonna go learn this language, how do I actually learn the language? I managed to find Cat's blog. I don't know how I did it, but it might have been also on R Learn Japanese. I don't know. But this was the video that actually made me want to go learn Japanese. Weirdly enough, I found it very inspirational. I don't know if other people had that same feeling, because he kind of just gets pretty dark. He talks about the dark parts of AJAT, I guess. Uh, but yep, from there I started AJAT, and here I am now. So I'll do a small overview of my past year. So about 2 months after recording that 18-month progress video, I found myself in the situation where I needed to get a full-time job, and that took a few months. Um, Very much I was out of college sometime there, May, June, I don't remember. After that, I was in need. Honestly, I was in need for up until November, I guess, but I was looking for a job, and I got my driver's license and all that stuff. So I wasn't like being a complete neat. It doesn't matter. Um, so since November last year, I've had a full time job, and that cut my free time pretty much exactly in half. Um, this obviously getting a full time job, you're gonna have less free time. Even during college, I had most of my classes online, so I still had a ton of free time. Uh, anyways, this was good. I found this is probably better than not having a job, in my opinion, because when I didn't have a job and I was out of college, every single day when I was like still like conversing in Japanese a lot, I felt really just terrible mentally, and it was really not a good time for me. But getting the job, I started feeling a lot better mentally, even though like my free time's cut in half, and it's not even like 100% true, honestly, because I'm lucky enough to be working at a place where I can still listen to Japanese. Like I can have an earbud in and still listen to Japanese just fine, and I don't get in trouble or anything. So just, it's a win-win for me. So I feel better now, and I can still listen to Japanese, but I can't really do like active immersion as much as I used to. So yeah, I got that job, and I got super lazy with documenting progress. So I had this spreadsheet. I know I stopped in the 18-month video, or actually, I don't really understand this because when was this video uploaded? July 8th. Even though I said I stopped. Oh, real timing. Okay, I understand now. I was using the Anki times at this point to put them in here, but I just stopped the spreadsheet completely on December 8th. And I also have a blog that I haven't wrote a post on since December 8th. Hmm. kind of links with this, huh? I wonder what happened that day. But it made me apparently not want to document my progress at all anymore. So I threw out the spreadsheet, I threw out the blog, and sort of was just doing Japanese on my own, 100% away from the internet pretty much, but that's not true. In terms of like sharing my progress, anyways, I kind of threw that part away. So also in December, late December, I think, I got back in contact with some friends that I used to talk to like every single day, and I didn't tell them anything. I literally just like disappeared, and I don't recommend doing that. That's just I don't think that's a good thing to do like as a human being. But I'm really thankful that these people don't hate me, and I was able to talk about what's been going on, all that stuff. Now I'm still talking to him. Probably not as much as I used to before, but yeah. Um, Immersion, stop feeling like immersion, and I said I'll spend all this in the video. So when you start learning a foreign language, every single time you go to like immerse in that language or interact with it, whatever, it feels like a challenge. And even at the 18-month mark, it still felt like a challenge. Honestly, if I want to probably go read a book at this point, like it was still in the back of my mind that I would like I'm probably gonna have to go pull out a dictionary and look up a word. I might have to pause the video, replay part of a sentence to understand it. Like I might get lost listening, even though like I'm understanding pretty like a very large majority of it. Like there's still gonna be parts where I'm like, eh. If I don't catch that, then I'm not gonna understand what's going on now. That type of stuff. This like Japanese really just feels way more like English than it ever has been before. Like I don't know how to explain it that well. Uh yeah, it's this is just like you spend so much time with something eventually it's just going to feel 100% natural. It really does now. So I'm thankful for that. I just kind of wish this feeling existed right from the start. So I missed a few days of Anki on accident too. Unfortunately, just busy with real life things, like busy with real life things more than I was before, and it just slipped by. And I've been doing Anki on my phone instead of the computer for like pretty much since I started working. So uh, it just slipped on by, and that was so up and from January 8th, I think, of 2018 to April 27th, I hadn't missed a day, and then bump, just missed a day. So over 2 years, and that happens. And Anki only tracks back to a year, I think. Today's July 28th, I think. Or I don't know. Something like that. But yeah. And I missed a few more days. I haven't missed a day since June 18th now. Where was I? And so also with Anki, I slacked on making new Anki cards pretty big since the 18-month mark, honestly. I only made around 2,800 new sentence cards since then. And at around that time, I think I was doing like 25 new cards a day. Yeah, 25 new cards a day. I first of all, I threw that away. There was probably like weeks where I made like no cards at all, honestly, over here. Just cuz you don't come across them that much anymore. And if you want to like actually go make 25 new cards a day, you're going to be learning words that first of all, you didn't find naturally. There's no way you found them naturally. You definitely had some type of intention of learning those words, or you're you're just like randomly learning words. Like there were a few days in here where Whereas like, I want to learn some words, so I'm gonna go look up a random word generator and just like grab any words I don't know that it brings up. And that seriously, I've done that more than once, just to like learn new words. But I I haven't been doing that much. The only reason why these are up is because I went through an entire light novel series, and I think I got 100 new words, around 100, maybe a bit more. But so yeah, only 2,800 new sentence cards. Um, I didn't watch as much anime as I used to. YouTube was my main source of listening material. This hasn't changed from 18 months, honestly. Main immersion at this point turned into YouTube videos. From 12 to 18 months, even that was true. But I don't know why, but I got back into anime again, like over the last couple of months, like last 2, 3 months maybe. I started watching anime a lot more. No clue why, but so maybe it's like half and half at this point. But still, YouTube is such a big, has been such a big like material, a big source of listening material for me, and I'm really thankful that it exists. So improvements. My reading speed. This is probably the biggest thing since 18 months, honestly. My reading speed has become really close to my reading speed in English. This is ignoring like Wikipedia articles, but just like books, YouTube comments, Twitter. Like it's not really any different than English at this point. Uh, I feel like reading speed is a pattern recognition thing. So if you just read a lot, you're obviously gonna get a lot better at reading. You know, you're like your speed's just gonna naturally improve, and I guess that's just what's happened. Um, but it's pretty cool, and understand this kind of like how to actually like physically describe this. When you read English or whatever your native language is, you're not thinking about grammar. You're not thinking about word order. You're not thinking literally anything. Like it's just text and it's going in your head directly. You're not thinking of the meaning of a word hardly ever, unless it's a rare word, you know. And Japanese, like I feel like that with Japanese now, so it's pretty cool. And like to touch on that, that's probably what you call fluency. Like I don't know. At the 18 month mark, that was I wasn't able to do that still. Like I still had to like go read through sentences from start to beginning, like each kanji or whatever. Like go through each one. Maybe have to think about the meaning of a sentence a bit longer than usual. And you can't just like glance at a sentence and get the meaning, you know. But when you can start being able to do that type of just like glance at a sentence and understand it, that's probably what you could call fluency. I don't know. Everyone's definition of fluent is different. There's no set definition. And the same thing with listening, honestly. In listening, I'm not understanding stuff on a conceptual level. It's not a language level at this point. Like I don't know how to split the barrier between the two, like a concept and a language level. I I don't know. But if I want to be on like my personal level, then I don't think I'm fluent in either. Just because the skill, the skill you want to be at and the skill you are at, you want that to always be higher. So the second you say you think you're fluent or whatever, like from your own personal point of view, then the improvement is just gonna stop because you're not gonna care to improve or anything. Um, so from an outside bystander viewpoint, I'm probably fluent in reading and listening, honestly too. Uh, Now that's in comprehension. Outputting Japanese at this point, I'm definitely not fluent in this still. 2.5 years of learning this language, and I still can't like speak the language better than a 2-year-old. Everything I like want to say comes out like karakoto. My pronunciation is still really bad. I can write Japanese a lot better than I can speak it, but like I still have to think about words, like what to say. And this might be an insensitive like comparison, but there's a language disorder called aphasia, and there's a lot of different types of aphasia, but there's one type where it's always where like the people who suffer from aphasia, when they try to speak, it feels like the word's always on the tip of their tongue, but it doesn't come out unless like the person that they're talking to like helps them get it out. And it's like that for almost every single word. Now, I don't think it's that bad. Like outputting Japanese. I don't think it's that bad, but the feeling is honestly like I feel like it's similar. I might be wrong, and that might be a very insensitive comparison. I'm not sure, but when I watched a Japanese news segment thing that was like 30 minutes on aphasia, or in Japanese it's called shitsugo, but uh, it felt like I don't want to say relatable because that's so wrong, but you know, the similarities were definitely there, and that's and I think it's just a matter of practice at this point, which I really need to just start doing, honestly. And I'll talk about it in a second. So concerns: can't speak or write fluently. Writing is definitely better though. So yeah, I was just touching on that. 2.5 years, I still can't speak or write Japanese fluently. What's up with that? 2.5 years is quite a long time. And, and now, why might that be the case? Other than just like me having a weird, distorted view of when I should actually be able to do stuff. It's probably this. I'm still too unconfident, scared to speak with Japanese people online. So, other people might have this weird, same issue as me, but this is definitely just like because of how I've seen things on the internet, like just growing up. Yeah, literally growing up on the internet is just when you see foreigners try to speak Japanese to a Japanese person, it feels very, I don't want to say cringy, but I won't lie, that feeling has always been with me. It's, it was definitely way stronger before I started learning Japanese. Ever since I started learning Japanese, that feeling has it's faded away, but it's not fully gone yet. And I feel like I'm one of those people now. Like I'm trying too hard if I try to speak to a Japanese person. What's up with that? Why do I have that feeling? It's so silly. And I just need to get over with it. Get over it. Uh but unfortunately it's still there. And I think I'll get over it eventually, but who knows. Um anyways, uh I'm absolutely terrible at translating. Uh so AJATT, MIA, this type of way of learning a language, you're completely ignoring your native language when you're trying to learn it after the 12-month mark, I guess. Somewhere early on. Eventually you want to cut out like anything that's helping you with your native language cuz you want to build the Japanese brain mindset. I don't mindset. Japanese way of thinking, Japanese way of interpretation, that type of stuff. You don't want to always have that weird gate called your native language when trying to understand Japanese. You don't want to see the word hong and have to think in your English, in your native language, oh, this means book, because that's not always true. It might be a counter or whatever. So you always want to have that in your in this in this way of learning a foreign language, you don't want that gate there because it's bad and it slows you down big time. But in at the end, when you are understanding everything, and now you want to actually go do some translation, you want to translate something for a friend or whatever. Well, now you realize you're absolutely terrible at translating because you don't know the English words for like 80% of the language, especially with adjectives and verbs. Nouns, it's a bit better, but like even with nouns, here's a word that you'll see in a game or whatever, or a book, somewhat often, a fantasy book or whatever. Kenshi. I didn't know what this was in English. Like apparently I never even like try to think of it like that. Like this was just a word I knew, but I never thought about it. Cause if you just look at the kanji, it's like sword, like warrior, I guess. So, but it's swordsman in English. Just you you gotta have you gotta build that knowledge up afterwards when you learn the language this way. So it's kind of concerning though, cause it's really bad. So keep on ignoring pitch accent when it's actually starting to be really important. So yeah, I want to like start actually speaking Japanese now, and I'm still ignoring pitch accent so much. I'll go on a, I'll do that thing that Katz talked about in his blog, his all Japanese all the time blog. He made some reference to like a 3 day monk or whatever, where he where a person will try really hard at something for only 3 days and then completely give up on it. I keep on doing that. I keep on doing that with pitch accent, and it's such a bad thing. Honestly, I really need to get over that and just learn it and incorporate it naturally into everything. Because if I'm gonna start speaking, I don't want to say apple, doctor. I don't want to say words like that. So media people if care what I was watching or whatever. I have one of these things, analyst, so you can see the anime I've watched and the manga I've read, and light novels too. Yeah, put that on there. Uh, and on YouTube, these are the main people I watched from the 18-month mark. So, Ushizawa, he is a Let's Player. Retoruto, Let's Player. Kato Jinichi, I don't really know how to describe this guy. He does a lot of stuff, but Let's Player, sure. Moko, he does similar things to Kato Junichi. Let's Player, but like I don't really watch his Let's Play videos. I watch his real life videos more than his Let's Play stuff. K, this is Mario Kart, and K's cool because he speaks. Yeah, first of all, he has a ton of like if you've watched him from a while ago, he has a ton of like what are they called, inside jokes, I guess, and it's kind of cool. Like I can follow his videos just fine because I've been watching for such a long time. Like I know all these inside jokes and I understand what people are saying in the comments. It's it's kind of cool to me. But he does mostly Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros. Uh, he also made I Want to Be the Guy videos, which is what I found him from, but he kind of stopped doing those, I guess. And then Suzuki Kenzo, he does Pokemon videos, and like not really funny story about this guy, but this is the only Japanese person I've ever talked to. As weird as that may sound, like since I started learning Japanese and like I actually use Japanese to speak with him, this is the only person I've ever spoken to in Japanese. Cause I emailed him twice. Basically, I made subtitles for one of his videos. I was like, "Hey, you want to use these?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah. I'll add these later." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "I added them." I'm like, "Thanks." It sort of went like that. But all the emails were in Japanese, and I was like, he didn't respond to me in English, so maybe I'm doing something right. Um, I guess I'll just go to my conclusion. It's been a little over 2.5 years since I started learning Japanese. It's kind of weird how if I saw a name like this, it'd be like, oh, that's just a bunch of scribbles. That, huh? That's what Japanese used to feel like. The moon rune example that's used a lot. It really did used to feel like that. Now it doesn't. And I didn't really watch anime like before ever learning Japanese. I think I've only seen like 10 anime ever, and I didn't really care for it at all before learning Japanese. So I didn't really have that like. I don't know how true of it is that people who watch anime for like several years, like they already are sort of attuned to how Japanese sounds. I mean, it's probably somewhat true, but I didn't have that like going into Japanese at all. Like stuff like Ohio, like even that still sounded complete gibberish to me. So I had to. I really did come in from pretty much in a complete blank slate. And just last year, I thought I'd be able to fluently speak and write Japanese somewhere around this point. Yet I still haven't made any serious attempts to improve at either of those two skills. So I touched on that here, just being too scared to talk with people online. And it's not like being wrong at this point, like saying wrong Japanese. I don't care about it that much anymore because I feel confident enough to that I'll use Japanese that's understandable, but it might sound unnatural. But I don't think my Japanese will ever be. I don't think it's bad enough to at this point to where I'll use Japanese that's just like where a Japanese person will be like, "Huh? What is it? What is this guy trying to say?" I don't think it's that bad, but I'm still just so scared. I don't know why. It, I gotta get over it. And that's just a personal issue. But so yeah, I've been learning Japanese for 2.5 years. That's sort of what's going on, and I mostly did like listening since the 18-month mark. Listening's just easier to do. YouTube's always there. Reading takes time, I guess, but I got back more into reading about a month ago, and this site I should add this in the media section. But Bookwalker, this is a really cool site because first of all, this is the only site I found where like you can actually purchase Japanese books with um American currency, PayPal, pretty much. Because there's a website, Itazura Neko. A lot of people probably know what that website is, but it's a really good resource for getting reading material like manga and light novels. But uh, it's also kind of outdated, so you won't find stuff. But here you can actually buy books, so it's nice. And also, I've always been not so legally getting all my material, and now I can finally actually legally get material. Pretty nice. So I guess that's it. Um, 18 months video. I don't know if I should touch on anything in here. Nothing. Yeah, nothing that big. I guess just overall, like I have improved, but it's like eh, it's hard to explain. Like how do you actually explain your improvement when you reach a certain point? It's just small, going up a small hill at this point, and eventually I'll be able to speak Japanese. I hope. The original plan was to record this video in Japanese. I'm definitely not comfortable enough to do that. So 3 month mark, 3 month, 3 year mark, maybe 3.5 year mark, 4 year mark. Whenever I decide to stop being scared and just get over it and actually go learn how to output, it's probably when I'll do that. So, yep, that was my 2.5 year progress update, I guess. Sorry for kind of just disappearing, but yep. Thanks for watching. If you have any advice at all on what I can do, anyone who's gone through this process with Japanese, any other language, or maybe you learned English in a similar way and you want to explain how you went through learning how to output it, um, honestly, any type of advice would be nice because, like, other than like going to a random Japanese Discord server or something, I don't even know how to find Japanese people to speak with that aren't tutors. Like, I don't really want to go talk to tutors, you know? I want to talk to people who have similar interest. So, yep. I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Advice would be appreciated. See ya.